Hey everybody, I wanted to pop in and show what it's like after I have not worked for many months. And, if you haven't seen my channel before, my name is Sherry, and I'm an adult with ADHD. I am sorry I look very bad right now. I do content about all the different things that I've been trying to help with my ADHD. And I actually have had to take a leave of absence for 3 to 4 months because my burnout got so bad. It was so bad. I couldn't function, and eventually my body just shut down on me. So I had to take a leave of absence. And I've been trying to learn what causes me to burn out so hard. So a friend of mine had told me, if you have autism, which I might have too, I'm not sure yet. If you're a woman and the more articulate you are, you can't tell right now because I'm very out of it, but I am very articulate, the more intelligent and the higher number of interactions you have with neurotypicals in a typical workday, the more burned out you'll get quicker. So I will do videos on neurodivergent burnout as I learn more. Part of it is I haven't been working in a while. Part of it is, so I'm not used to it. And I've gotten not lazy, but inactive. So I have days where my symptoms are pretty bad and I space out a lot. I lose a lot of time, and I've been trying to manage my time using a planner, which I've been having limited success with that because I haven't had any kind of structure. So ADD is getting in the way of me wanting to start my channel. So I've been doing these little journal entries, like this 30-day experiment that I started to try to kick my butt into gear and try all the different things to see if I can help myself with my symptoms. The reason that I tried to use a planner is everybody's ADHD is different, right? I apologize for the lighting. I just woke up. Apparently, I just woke up an hour ago. See what I mean? So, let me show you. Why do I use this? Do you see these things here? Why do I need a planner that I have to write down the time I wake up, the time I take my meds, to do a few basic cleaning things, to walk, to write how much water I drank in a day, how many loads of laundry did I do, and yeah, my basic cleaning that I try to do, like if it's the bare minimum, dishes, trash, and bed. Just make the bed, take out the trash, do some dishes. So why do I have this? I forget. I get spaced out. I go in hyper focus for multiple hours straight, beating or whatever like my interest is, and it is interfering with my life. And that's why it is ADHD, because most people think everybody's got it. No. Everybody gets distracted, yes. Everybody can get tired, yes. Everybody can have good days and bad days, yes. We can all space out. It's not like regular people, neurotypical people can't do that. You can. Just because you space out and you have a hard time paying attention does not necessarily mean you have ADHD. It is a neurological condition. your brain develops differently. You actually have a different brain. So it doesn't seem it, but you actually do. Your brain develops slightly differently. So because it's how your brain is developing slightly differently, and it has to do with how it's developed, it's called a neurodevelopmental disability. Now, neuro, because it's neurological, it has to do with your nervous system and your brain. Developmental, because your brain develops differently than the typical person's brain, and that's okay. That's okay. We're not less. So I do want to do more videos. I don't want to get into a long spiel right now. I don't know what my goals are right now. Today is going to be a space out day. I think, probably. Because when I was working, for some reason, after I worked today, I'd be in bed all day the next day. I wasn't sure how it would be after my first day back. I did not wake up until noon, and I feel like a lump, like I really can't move. I'm exhausted. And I think even if I didn't have what I have, I would probably be feeling that way too, because I've become sedentary. All of the things that I've been wanting to do on my break, besides, of course, recovering, once I was better and I was starting to get my energy back, that was where the planner came in. Without that, I lose all track of time, days, and this is just a tool that I didn't want to say like I came up with it, because there are other tools like that people use, and ironically, I've been trying to do things like this since before I even knew I had ADHD, because the symptoms were there. Just because I wasn't diagnosed didn't mean the problems weren't there. And I was like, oh my God, why can I never be on time? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting to do my homework. I can't keep up on it. Why am I losing time? And this is why I think it's good for people to get diagnosed as soon as you can. You don't have to go on medication. You don't have to live your life any differently. You don't even have to tell anyone. Now, this is me. I am one neurodivergent person. I am one person with ADHD. And although a lot of people, before they start learning about ADHD and or autism, would not think, if you were to see me and listen to me talk, you wouldn't think I had either of them. But I do. I do. I do. It's bad. And it's invisible. So I am currently, over the last year or two, learning about autism, because there is autism in my family. I have one cousin who's diagnosed who has it that you wouldn't know. And before I started learning about it, I had stereotypes in my head, which I suppose because we don't really talk about it a lot in our culture, until you find out somebody who has it who seems normal to you, right? And then you're like, you don't have that. You don't have that. Because what do you think about? Anyone who's watching this who doesn't know about it yet, you think of the stereotype. You think of the little kid who doesn't talk, who might scream, who is in their head. That's because that's all I knew, And I've known a little bit about Asperger's, and the only thing I knew about that is that it's higher functioning. So in my limited knowledge I knew that there was this highly disabled person who is really struggling, right? And needs a lot of support. And you can clearly see where that's a disability. It's very visible. And a spectrum being that people have various degrees of something. Now, stay with me here because you might be wanting to click off. I'm not going to make this a 1-hour video, I promise. I'm going to start doing live streams very soon. I know I've been talking about it, but I've just been slowly kind of processing how I want to do them. I know it's not a big deal. I can just pop on and I might. But I've been trying to kind of like reflect what would be useful. Now, granted, I'm a baby channel, and a lot of my content has been almost like, especially the 30 days, a lot of it's not really watchable because it's like journal entries of me trying to cope with my symptoms and what I'm doing that day and how it's working out or not working out. And I show myself on the days that I'm not functional. So, and I don't know how to edit videos yet. So don't be too critical yet. I'm just learning how to do this now. And being a person who has attention deficit, being a person that loses time very easily, you know, my attention gets hijacked to this project. I'm just as talented. I'm just as intelligent. I'm just as articulate as anyone else. But as far as staying on task and some of the symptoms that I struggle with, it could be that this point in my life, that they've become as severe as they are, because I have been coming out of a burnout, and I also have depression. We can do another video on another day. I did do one where I was talking about it. My videos are very candid. It's just me, a lady, a girl with a phone. Some of them when I'm talking about ADHD and different things that I'm sharing with you, because I know a lot of people out there are like me and don't know about these things. You know what I mean? And I'm fortunate. I got to go to an ADHD educational group. I had to be on a wait list for it, but because of the particular healthcare insurance and the particular place that I go, they had a program. And the woman who runs it, she developed it. So, and I haven't seen anything like it. And each week we went over a different topic of things that we can struggle with. There were 15 people in each group. And so I was on a waiting list and I had to wait till there was an opening. They had to send a referral from my doctor, my prescriber, to the mental health, the woman in the mental health office who runs this. And so I had to have a referral. I had to reach out to her. And there was some things I had to do. I can't remember to just get on the list. When I was finally in, I found it very, very helpful. There were some aspects that weren't helpful in the sense that it lasts 6 weeks. I want to say it was like 6 weeks, something like that. 6 or 8 weeks. Each week we covered a different topic, a different aspect of ADHD that is a different aspect that is challenging, that we have, we struggle with, and why. The first week we went over the anatomy of the brain. That was so enlightening, confusing, overwhelming. And that is from me, a person who was diagnosed 25 years ago. I am 50 years old. I just turned 50, and I was diagnosed as an adult. I know I've talked about it here and there, and I can't remember like how much I've discussed, but I had to go through a crisis in my life. When you're high functioning isn't really even like a word, but I don't know another word to use or description to use to describe why I wouldn't even know I had a problem. I just thought I was crazy. I just thought I wasn't mature. I thought I had emotional problems or something, emotional regulation, and I just thought I was being immature. And I was in my 20s, and I was struggling with keeping a job. I did have problems with things that other people didn't. But it was more like, oh, why is this happening? I just assume I was normal. I assume like I was everybody else. So all it did was instill fear and try to fix said thing. And so I had a lot of years in my life where I didn't know I had something, let alone my childhood and teenage years in the 80s and 90s where they didn't even stop to think, and there were, if I had a learning disability or if I had something like, they didn't know about it. At least the people in my school didn't know about it. Like maybe they had heard about it. Maybe teachers talked about it, but there definitely wasn't any support or program. I think that it was a different time. To me, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but yeah, and the way the whole culture was completely different. Your relation to the teacher and what was expected of you, and the teacher's role, what was expected of them. And things are so much more lenient now than it was back then. Teachers were more strict, and there wasn't any protecting of anyone's feelings. But anyway, I'm getting off of topic. I don't know what my topic was. So yeah, why do I use a planner? I just saw something that what prompted me to start this video. I just remembered. Yay. One of the people that I follow is an ADHD content creator who also is he is a professional. I can't remember if he's like a mental health. I don't know if he's a coach or he's been struggling with ADHD himself, and it can really, really mess up your life. It's not just not paying attention. It's a neurological condition, and there are functions of your brain that don't work as well that the regular person takes for granted, doesn't even know. So if you struggle and you think you might have ADHD, but you're not sure, and you don't have access to learn these things, I want to share it. So if these things are overwhelming for me to learn about, as somebody who took classes in the medical field, my previous degree was phlebotomy, that's blood drawing, but still somebody who I kind of geek out over some medical stuff. And it took me a long time to learn how to study those things. But it's an interest. So, and for somebody who has been in nursing school and is an older adult who was diagnosed many years ago, who had all the books and thought I knew everything there was and had made a lot of adjustments over my life, if I am getting overwhelmed learning about these things now, because I didn't realize there was all this new knowledge and information, that it's like a second learning. It's almost like I'm learning about ADHD all over again. And if I'm overwhelmed by it, I guarantee that many, many of you are also. If I were to talk to you about ADHD, and I were to mention a few things, such as executive functioning. If you're new to knowing about ADHD, do you know what that is? For me, it sounds like some dude in a CEO in a suit in an office somewhere, executive. and functioning. Like, what does that mean? Right? If it's hard for me to learn about this stuff, I can't imagine that there aren't other people who either don't have access to the things I have had access to. Yeah. And there are many people out there, probably like me, who are overwhelmed. So, although all of us who do happen to have ADHD, and if you suspect you might have it, just know we are all different. And just like autism, there is a spectrum to it. So somebody might have it just kind of a little bit. So they have it, but they can kind of muddle through it. And it's more maybe a frustration for some people, but they're somehow able to manage. It might be challenging, but they can. And then on the other extreme, you might be somebody who struggles to be employed. I've known many, many, many people who have ADHD who have... Actually, do I know anyone who has not? Actually, the people in the ADHD group that I was in, I was surprised. There's no way I can really know, and I promise I will never share, especially if any of those fellow group members stumble upon this, or I have shared in an email my channel, and I doubt they'll come on, but I will never share personal information on here. I won't. You can't legally, but I wouldn't do it anyway. Just, I wouldn't want people to share stuff about me. So it'll be all like non-identifiable. Nothing specific about anyone. But these are people who struggle too. And I can't know for sure because it was an educational group. It wasn't a support group. It only lasted for so many weeks though, but it was kind of like in between a support group and a class. But the way that she organized the information so that each week we went over a different aspect that we might struggle with. The first week we went over the anatomy of the brain. Week 1. What is different? What does that hurt for me to share that with you? You're probably thinking you're normal. And even once you get diagnosed, you still, like, I still gaslight myself. 25 years later, I'm like, I could do it if I tried. I'm like constantly fighting against this inner dialogue still. And it has to do with how we're conditioned by our family and our culture. And ableism, I've been learning about. Don't hate people for it. I think that I was too, probably before I even knew what it was, which was just learned about this past year. It's a type of prejudice. Who knew? There's a prejudice that you can have against somebody who has a disability. Just like you can be racist about a person who is in a different skin tone, different cultural background. You can be sexist, prejudice against somebody but just by their gender, their sex. You can be, there's so many different things. Ageism is prejudice against somebody against their age. And this is important to talk about these things as well later on. And I think I do want to discuss these topics. I am not different from other content creators in the sense, I mean, I'm new and I haven't been curating my videos. I've just been being myself and talking. And I'm trying to learn how to do them shorter, and I got 24 minutes in. But I lost my thought. I just kind of want to tell you these things. And I don't know how to make super pretty polished videos yet. I kind of know how to go back and cut out, things that I messed up or if I was rambling. But because I struggle with ADHD, I struggle with editing. So the disability or, hard challenge that I have with ADHD affects my ability to focus and know how to edit. So right now, they're raw. They're not professional. They're not edited. But what I would like to do going forward, and I'm going to be finishing up this 30-day experiment. I'm pretty much done with it, I think. I got through 20 days. But I did learn something really cool, and I will share that with you in the next one. I had 2 things that actually finally worked for me. So I did burn myself out doing them, and then I had a couple of bad days where I wasn't able to function, but I'm going to modify it, and I'm going to share that with you too. So the topics that I would like to go over with you all, I want to talk about executive functioning. What is it? How it leads to ADHD paralysis. Do you ever have a list of things that you're supposed to do and you're so overwhelmed that you don't know which thing to do, and you're thinking of these things and you'll exhaust yourself for an hour maybe trying to think of what to do, and then then you'll distract yourself because now you have a headache, and somebody will come in and they're like, why didn't you start? And they have no idea you have all this stuff going on in your head and you're paralyzed because you can't sort through what's most important. That aspect of your brain, that particular type of process in your brain, is called executive functioning. How to tell which is the most important thing to start working on, how to sort out and block out things that are distracting you. So instead of just being distracted, you also have this thing called poor executive functioning. So you can't decide, you got all of this input going in at the same time. The tag scratching your back and all of these things, plus the important things, so that you can't, executive functioning, time blindness, time management, emotional regulation, organization is kind of that's just kind of a side effect of those. There's a couple other things. I've been saying this a while before I got down that 30-day experiment. Do I feel any different? Do I feel like it helped me? Yes. Am I in a better place right now? Emotionally and mentally, yes, for a couple of reasons. And I will wrap that up. I'll do a video soon and talk about what I learned from it. So if you can't watch those videos, don't feel bad. Yeah. So on the one hand, am I functioning by, if you were to just look at what I was attempting to do with, my goals were, which is what this planner is for, my goals of what was important that I wanted to fix. It might be different for you, was I got to start getting up earlier. I want to regulate getting up at a certain time. I want to start going to bed at a certain time because I lose time and I'll be up till 5 a.m. looking at something in my phone and I won't even know. And then it's you're messed up the next day and your symptoms are even worse because you haven't slept. It's this merry-go-round. Not all people struggle with that so much. That and a bunch of other things. So for me, I forget to eat. I forget to drink my water. I forget to take my pills. And how does somebody go about trying to fix those things if you have ADHD and you are constantly distracted and you don't know what you've been doing for 3 hours? So the planner is simply a tool. I use a planner to create a foundation of things that when I catch myself spacing out in the morning and I'm like, what day is it? What am I doing? Oh, let me check. Did I do this yet? And I have them in order of importance. So, did you take your pills? Oh, I better go do that. And I might get distracted and go do dishes and something else, and another hour might go by, and I might go, oh yeah, what am I doing? So it's basically a tool that I am using to redirect myself and try to manage it so it's not as bad. Because right now I'm almost like not functional. So that might be helpful for you. But I did not anticipate how hard it was going to be for me to make content in a coherent, non-rambling way. Yeah. So this is me. I got up at noon. I just worked my first work shift in a very long time. So my body has become used to, like, I would do some cleaning in maybe like 5 minutes walk here or there, but my body is not used to doing customer service or being on my feet for 8 hours. So I knew I was going to feel like this. I wanted to pop in and touch base. Yeah, changes are coming. Changes are coming. So those of you I have met in real life and those I have like reached out to or commented, it's been kind of slow and it's been kind of boring and I haven't been putting out a lot of content, and the content I have been putting out is mainly the 30-day experiment, which I don't know, it was an experiment, right? We'll figure it out. But unfortunately, learning how to take good videos and edit them and all of that, anything that we try to do if we have ADHD, the ADHD can interfere with. So it might interfere with your ability to focus on or be able to do the things you're doing, because if you're not aware of it, for instance, hyperfocus. If you get so intensely interested in the thing that you're doing that 6 hours go by and you have no idea, and you look up and 6 hours went by and you haven't gotten up to go to the bathroom, you haven't gotten up to get a drink of water, your body hasn't given you those messages, but you don't know about poor interoception. And what's that? Right? Poor interoception, poor proprioception, dyschronometria. They are kind of scary sounding medical terms. Sound like diseases, right? They're not. They're fancy science names for the poor proprioception is, so if you're somebody who thinks of yourself as clumsy, and at least once in a day kind of bumps into a counter, maybe one day you're tired, you hit your head on the cabinet door as you go to close it after you grab your coffee mug. Little things like that. You may wonder, like, why do I keep doing these clumsy things? You might have poor proprioception, and that is something that happens to people with ADHD sometimes. Your ability to judge how close something is to you, from your body. And this is something you're not thinking about. This is a process your brain does. There's so many things our brain does every single day for us to do just basic stuff that we have no idea, because we don't talk about this stuff. We just get up and go to our job and live our lives. Like, this is confusing. Like, I don't need to know all of this stuff. But if you're wondering why you're always stubbing your toe or dropping that roll of toilet paper before you get to even like put it in the thing, knocking things over. Like, it might not happen all the time, but if you're wondering, hey, I went to go put this glass on the table and it kind of felt, why? Poor proprioception. So for me, I might inadvertently think that a counter is 2 inches further away from me than it is, and not even know I'm doing that. Well, you guys, if you don't hear and you don't have somebody to tell you that these things can happen, you're going to feel bad about yourself, maybe, especially if you're somebody who has it really bad. So for me, it's worth it to start making content about this. There are lots of ADHD content creators, and I think they're doing amazing work. Amazing work. And I want to say like I'm jealous of them, but I don't mean the word jealous, because jealous is a bad feeling. I admire that their ability to edit, because I'm new and I don't know how to do these. So my thoughts might meander. I might talk about different things when I start recording than I did when I started. And then I get overwhelmed, when I go to edit them. I feel like I'm that kid at school who I have to do a paper and I'm supposed to organize this paper in a specific way. And when I brainstorm for this project, it's all over the place. So that was the aspect that was very challenging for me when taking English Comp 1 and 2 in college, and probably English classes in school in general, because my thoughts go every which way. Am I smart? Yeah, I'm just as smart as everyone else. Am I crazy? No, I'm not crazy. I have ADHD, so, my thoughts wander and I ramble. And when I say ramble, I'm not putting myself down. I must ramble because the people who live with me tune me out. So I must talk a lot if they can't even listen to me. So what am I going to do about that? Am I going to feel bad about myself? I have for many, many years. And how do we learn how to manage some of these things? So my message to you, if this is the first time you're seeing my videos, and I apologize that a lot of them have not been really great quality and some of them are long, don't feel like you have to watch them. But soon I'm going to do better videos, not these journal entry type things like me talking right now. I'm going to learn how to do better ones. And I have done some before. If you go to the playlist I have on Learn With Me, where I was studying some medical information for a class I was taking, and I was studying the fentanyl crisis. The second one I did, I was partially going off the cuff like I normally do, but I prepared for that and it came out pretty good. So yeah, I know I can do it. But I'm just a person with the phone who has ADHD, and I just want to share some things with you to help you. And even if you're learning about it and you're overwhelmed, that's okay. You don't have to change anything right away. Maybe the way that you process things might be slower. Maybe you're so overwhelmed with just keeping it together and you're at burnout point yourself. Maybe you have kids and you have a job and you're finally at a point, maybe you're going through a crisis in your life and all of a sudden it makes the symptoms so bad that you now know you have a problem, and then you go to the doctor and you get diagnosed. And you had no idea. So that's overwhelming. So, and also, I primarily have inattentive ADHD, which is, I do get hyper sometimes, but generally speaking, what I struggle with more is not obvious on the outside. So if you have inattentive type ADHD, it's not as common for men, but some men do have it. Especially for women, because we tend to get that type and we can act and seem just like everyone else. Most women don't even know that have ADHD, don't even know. I've known that since 25 years ago when I was diagnosed and I was learning about ADHD, and it's just COVID came, wouldn't you know? Now we have a collective crisis happen Maybe you had people close to you pass away. Maybe you're juggling things. Maybe you're on the brink of losing your job. And all of a sudden, things come to a head where you have all these symptoms that are way worse now. And you literally can't like get out of bed. You can't do anything. And you're about to have like a nervous breakdown. You have to go to the doctor. You have to go to a counselor. And you probably think you have like bipolar or depression or something. And all of that not thinking straight, you maybe chalked it up to being careless or being distractible or any of these other things. And that's what it takes. Because even if you were to tell somebody, like me telling you now I have ADHD, is there anything obvious about me to show that I have it? No. I could go to a family event and I act and sound and like think just like everybody else. So the average person doesn't see you in the morning when 4 hours go by or can't figure out why you cannot be on time. And it's a spectrum, right? So it is similar to autism in the sense that some people have it more severe than others. And so there's 3 different kinds. There is primarily inattentive, what I have. There's hyperactive, so maybe that person doesn't get as distracted as much as they are hyper and impatient, and maybe they have mood regulation issues. Who knows? Maybe they're just agitated and they have to always be moving, and they get aggravated if the people in front of them aren't driving fast enough. You might be primarily hyperactive ADHD, or you might have combined type that has some of both. I think that we all probably have a little bit of both or could do both. But so not only is there differences in how severe our ADHD is, there's differences in the types of ADHD. And even within this group that I went to, I noticed big differences in what out of all of the aspects, the executive functioning, the poor working memory, emotional regulation, time blindness, time management. I can't remember what the other thing is. Maybe some people struggled with some things more than others, and other people struggle with these other things more than those. So there's differences. There's a lot of differences. And for many reasons, a lot of people, I think, have been going not knowing that they have this. So maybe you don't have access to screenings, to being able to get insurance, to being able to get to see a counselor, especially if you're at your point in your life where you have kids and you have a family and you're struggling and you're working maybe more than one job and you're trying to juggle everything. And that's already kind of gotten you to the point where you're about to just have like a crisis where you're about to go like non-functional and something's got to give. The thought of maybe fixing your health insurance because you don't have time for you is overwhelming. And going through that process of actually calling the phone numbers, going to the healthcare connector, oh my gosh, those are executive function heavy things. And if you are new and you don't know what that means, that's why if you are somebody who's trying to decide what to go back to school for, or you cringe when you think about how you're going to start doing your taxes, even though we have like software and different things now that can help us. If you're the type of person that just thinking about getting health insurance again, maybe something happened, is overwhelming for you because of all of the steps it takes. And I have known personally at least 2 other people in my life, including myself, that, 2 other people I have met that have that same issue. The thought of calling, I live in New England, and to call like the healthcare available, just thinking about being on hold, not knowing what to say. And also the bureaucracy. That's not exactly straightforward. So if you struggle with ADHD, each time you go to do things like that, over time and over the years, you might have a knee-jerk reaction of just shutting down. You might get really overwhelmed and like emotional about it and not know why. It may seem not rational to you. And I get that way with certain things. And it's because I remember all of the times that I've had to do it in the past, and even just thinking about how stressful it was before is exhausting. So you're not crazy. Okay? You're not crazy. And I'm going to be coming out of this 30-day experiment, and I'm going to start focusing on you guys. I'll still share where I'm at, because I think if we could figure out a way that we can talk to each other on here, maybe it'll be through lives. So over time, as I start doing live streams, I might do different kinds of live streams. I have a friend that I've met through YouTube. That's pretty much primarily what she does. And she's developed a group of people who look forward to seeing her every day. And you are developing relationships kind of with content creators in that sense. And we can interact with you. And maybe you're just learning about ADHD. And it would be nice to talk to somebody who knows you're not crazy. Maybe you don't have other ADHD people around you. It runs in families, but that doesn't mean that the people in your immediate family have it. My fiance doesn't have it. My mom probably doesn't have it. The people in my household don't have it. So if your whole life you're hearing all this negative feedback from teachers, relationship partners, friends, family, who get frustrated with you because they're holding you to a standard as everyone else, and they've dealt with certain things with you for a long time, and you feel bad about it, what happens? All of that negative feedback, which comes from a good place, all our teachers are trying to help us, it just reinforces and reinforces and reinforces each time. And I think they said we get like 10,000 more negative feedback. I don't remember what I'll have to look it up because I feel silly now. I don't remember. But that's, people can get rejection sensitivity. So if you're somebody who, as soon as somebody comes down and starts being critical, or why are you doing that or whatever, if you get so like you feel like you're going to snap, you might have that. All of these things aren't terrible. They sound awful. The words sound like, oh, what do we think, we have diseases? That's like, this is ridiculous. That's like how I feel about it as I'm learning. I'm like, what new thing are they going to talk about now? Aren't things hard enough? I don't want to hear about this. But if you have an attitude that might be helpful for you, and how you feel about this is completely dependent on who you are and what's important to you and what you're looking for. And maybe not all of this stuff will resonate. But if you do find yourself getting overwhelmed with, if you're somebody who, I have a few people, I'm a small channel, but I have a select few people who do watch what I post because they also struggle with similar things. And the stuff I've been posting is hard to watch, and some of it is long. But for that person who's also going through that, me sharing might be very, very helpful for them. And I'm not going to be doing, oh my God, this ended up being almost an hour. I'm still going to post it. So yeah, I haven't really been using my planner so much. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I think if I wasn't recording myself doing it, if I just did it and I wasn't really thinking about it and I made it less of a big deal, maybe I'll start doing it again. But yeah, I'm like always trying different things. Because some things help me and some things don't. Yeah, we'll get through it together. You're not alone. You shouldn't feel bad about yourself. And there is a community of neurodivergent people on YouTube. You know, between this psychological education, group for ADHD, I learned a lot. It wasn't near enough because we had an hour and a half per topic. So there was an outline, like maybe one week we'd go over what executive functioning means. And then she would give us some examples of how that might be in our lives and kind of talk about that for a while. So there was that aspect of it. Then we would split up into groups and we would reflect on how do we struggle with that aspect, that particular one. So some might be more than others. Some it might, whatever that thing was, maybe isn't really an issue for them. And then we'd get into groups, we'd talk about it. And then after like 2 minutes or so, we would all discuss. So it gave us a moment to reflect, okay, how is this particular issue with ADHD? Where do I struggle with that? How does it affect my ability to get to work on time? How does it affect, the other aspect was social. It had to do with, I'll have to look it up to describe it. I'm going to go. I am a lump today, and it's okay. I have one of my followers, Alan. Don't worry about me, Alan. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm just really tired. Thank you. You are wonderful. I am so grateful for all of you guys who do care and are following me. I knew that this was going to happen because of how it was. This is my pattern. After I work a day, I'm exhausted. And this is my first day back after 4 months. So this is a learning process for me too. Because now I'm coming back and I'm having to learn things for the first time. I just started learning about some of this stuff less than a year ago. And if it's overwhelming for me, it's got to be overwhelming for some of you guys, right? It's got to be. So yeah, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how. I know I want to talk about them, and I like how she organized them in a way that each visit we discussed one particular part of ADHD that might affect us. So by the time the 6 to 8 weeks, however long it was over, I had this whole knowledge base I did not have before, but it kind of like opened the door. It kind of like, it gave me tools that I did not have. It gave me topics to look up and learn about at my own pace, which I'm still learning about them. And I think it might have been a year ago. I don't even know how long it's been. I'll have to look in my other planner from last year. I think I'm making this one like more work than it has to be. So I guess today is going to be like my Monday. Today's going to be a rest day. I don't have any appointments this week. Today's Tuesday. So today's not a usable day for me, probably. Like, I'm not going to give, if you have this experience as well with your job and you can't work and you had to cut back hours, you might have to build in a rest day, especially if you're working customer service, retail, stuff like that. It's especially this time of year. Anyway, I realized just now I have not eaten. Is it 2? What the? This is what I'm talking about. I'm going to go eat. I haven't had breakfast. I had my pills. Let me close out by saying this is your friendly reminder from your fellow ADHD friend. If you need to take medication for your help with your ADHD symptoms so that you can function today, if you need to take medication for mood regulation or for depression because you need it, please remember that this comes first and is very important. And if you miss it, then it could basically throw a monkey wrench in all of this hard work you're doing to try to make your life better. So let this be a friendly reminder, if you have forgotten today, to please go do that. If it's late at night, don't do that. No, you will be awake all night. But yeah, I love you guys. Make sure you eat, take your pills, drink your water. Sounds basic, sounds dumb, I know. But what are you forgetting? Do you forget? Love you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.